Floaty Goaty Lore, Volume 2, Chapter 14, Evil Plasma Attacks. Upon arrival, the gang stared in horror at the sheer amount of plasma soldiers surrounding them. They asked to speak to the king. They were brought up a staircase to the throne, and the king asked, "Why have you come to see me? For good reason, I presume?" Hashi responded with, "Hey, those guys you have trapped are our friends. Can we have them back, please?" The king said, "Nah, I think we'll hold on to them a bit longer. And you guys are powerless without these, no?" The king took out the power stone and the artifact. Hashi stared in fear. "You could never harness the power of these precious weapons. Only Floaty Goaty wields the energy." The king smirked and said, "Well, he doesn't seem very energetic right now, does he? Guards, get them out of my sight." The plasma guards then tried to attack the ship, but its plasma-free features only pushed it away. It was pushed all the way across the universe. The gang would have to travel all the way back to get to the planet before the plasma people could torture Floaty Goaty, Karen, and Jadiel. So they started heading on their way back. Back at the plasma planet, they had unfrozen Jadiel. The king spoke to him. "So you were strong, but not strong enough to keep us, the greatest army in the universe, at bay." Jadiel said nothing, but only shook his head, annoyed with the plasma. "How dare you ignore me," said the king. "I can take any shape in the universe. I know your greatest fear. I can become broccoli." Jadiel got mad about being insulted for his weight, so he punched the plasma king in the face. The king spoke again, panting as he struggled to get his words out. "A strong one, I see. I've had enough of this." Ah, perfect timing. The plasma soldiers came to the king, wheeling a bunch of other sleeping prisoners with them. The king called for his strongest guard and spoke to him in Plasmatonese. "Katuak Lametakuno." The guard nodded and jumped towards Jadiel. He tried to run away, but when the guard tackled him, the guard disappeared. Jadiel's eyes then began to glow as he turned purple and stronger. The king told the guards to release the other prisoners and do the same, except for Floaty Goaty, for now. Back on the other side of the universe, the gang was about a third of the way there. Then they found Goofy Planet. It had been so long since the gang was there, and they missed it. They figured why not stop by and be home again for a little bit. After all, they hadn't seen their home in years. Not much has changed, but the Hash Brown and Goat armies were delighted to see Hashi and the quintuplets again. A Goat army member asked where Floaty Goaty was, and Hashi simply responded with, "We're working on saving him right now." Tyson had gone missing in the short time that they had landed there, but they found him meditating at the entrance to Rim's temple. They heard him mumbling something, but they couldn't hear until they got closer. They got close enough to hear, "Dear friend, I will join you someday. Don't wait too long. I will come to you." Hashi figured he was just missing Rim, so the rest of the gang headed out to wait for him. They were about to leave when Hashi noticed Floaty Goaty's house and decided to go explore it. He went inside to Floaty Goaty's workbench and saw his weapon with a piece of every adventure they had gone on together. He then noticed 4 peculiar slots on the weapon, all shaped and sized for 4 precious items: the Power Stone, the Artifact, the Beak of Kevin, and the Foot of Fwog. He figured this was purely coincidental, because there was no way Floaty Goaty would want to take Hashi's precious items from him. After reminding Tyson that it was time to leave, the gang said their goodbyes to Goofy Planet and headed off to finish their journey. In the distance, they spotted a large circular living object, eating planets as it rolled. It seemed to be a human. Hashi immediately knew who it was: Queso. Back at the plasma planet, all of the plasmified soldiers, among them Jadiel and Karen, lined up at the entrance gate, waiting for the arrival of new foes. Every time someone landed at the gates of the planet, they fought, took them down, and turned them into one of their own. Their goal was to plasmify the whole universe, and then the multiverse, to obey the orders of Donald Shrimp. This was getting out of hand. Just then, 10 legendary warriors from an unknown planet showed up at the gates. They fought and took down the entire plasma army. The king had had enough. He shouted as loud as he could, and then took control of Floaty Goaty. The combined energy of Floaty Goaty and the Plasma King had turned him into the strongest warrior alive. He easily took down the warriors and revived the entire army, boosting their strength. This would be terrible for the gang because not only would they have to fight their friend, but their strongest friend. It's going to be a treacherous journey to get back to the Plasma King and beat him. But if they wanted Floaty Goaty back, they would have to before the Plasma can overtake the multiverse and make Donald Shrimp more powerful. Will the gang succeed? Only time will tell, but for now, the gang is trying to hide from Queso. He will eat them as soon as he sees them, or so they thought, until Hashi remembered that every time they met up with Queso in the past, he has punched them to the opposite end of the universe. If they angled it just right, they could get him to launch them back to the plasma planet. So they took their plan into action. They got close to Queso, and he didn't see them until Hashi shouted at him to get his attention. But then, instead of punching them to the plasma planet, he ate the spaceship. They did not die, however they got stuck in his mouth. But a human eating human would be cannibalism, so Tyson and Uncle Ben did not taste good to Queso. He knew, however, that they were threats, so he pushed through. The gang came to the conclusion that this is how it would end, and that the entire universe would succumb to the fate of the plasma. This would be their final stand. Back at the plasma planet, the king is still getting defeated slightly because he does not wield the power to harness Floaty Goaty's strength. He decided that he had had enough and pulled out the Power Stone and artifact. However, they only flickered when he wielded them. Just then, a voice in his head started speaking to him. It was the voice of Floaty Goaty. "You'll never succeed. My gang will always come back to get you. No matter how hard you try, you'll be doomed when they arrive." The king responded, "You're forgetting one key detail. They're not fighting me. They're fighting you. You can't harness my power no matter how hard you try. The power only works when me and the quintuplets work together. You will never be as strong as me, even in my body. Mark my words, you will be defeated." The king chuckled to himself and brought out plasma that embodied the quintuplets. You see, the plasma doesn't just take people's bodies over. No, that would be too boring. We take the form of what we see. Now we can harness the true power of the Power Stone and the artifact to defeat you. I've learned all your moves after excessive training, and as a child I was your biggest fan. I watched all of your adventures through my father's telescope. It was incredible, and now I harness your power. Floaty Goaty felt weak and worried for the gang's return. Inside Queso's mouth, Tyson devised a plan to get out. If one of them were to punch his stomach somehow, he would spit them all out. But how would they get to the stomach? Tyson concluded that someone needed to sacrifice himself in order to get down inside the stomach. Tyson then said that he would do it. He has nothing to live for after the death of his best friend, Rim. So without consulting the gang first, he jumped down and punched the living crap out of Queso's stomach, and lo and behold, Queso spit them out. He spit them all away to the plasma planet, but before they entered, they mourned over the loss of Tyson. He had been there since the beginning. He was the one who taught them how to beat Ohio Final Boss way back at Goofy Out Tower. He was the one who translated all the Japanese in Rim's temple. They had gone on so many adventures together, but he died a good man. He sacrificed himself to protect his friends. But now, the gang had to move on and save Floaty Goaty before they lost him too. As soon as they entered the planet, they were greeted by the Plasma King and Floaty Goaty's body standing there with 5 goat clones, wielding the Power Stone. As soon as Hashi saw the Plasma King and Floaty Goaty's body, he stood there in shock. He knew not only did he not have the guts to fight Floaty Goaty, but also that Floaty Goaty would obliterate the whole gang in an instant. Hashi concluded that in order to gather up the courage to fight Floaty Goaty, he would have to get mad. That's when he reminded himself of what he saw in Floaty Goaty's house. How the weapon had slots shaped like the beak of Kevin and the foot of Wog. He knew that couldn't possibly be what that was for, but he imagined they were so he could get mad. He then charged at Floaty Goaty at max speed as the Plasma King tried to punch, and Hashi knocked him out cold. He then ordered the quintuplets to fight off the versions of themselves, and told Phoenix to handle Jadiel and Karen, while he and Uncle Ben cleared out the rest of the army. Eventually, every army member was taken out by the body they occupied, and Hashi used the beak of Kevin to wipe out all the plasma spirits. Then, the Plasma King came out of Floaty Goaty's body saying his final words, "You'll never beat Donald Trump." He then died and faded to dust. Floaty Goaty was relieved, but also puzzled. He felt like he was forgetting something. That's when he teleported away from the rest of the gang. He grabbed the Plasma King's crown and teleported He reappeared with a smaller spiritual guidance statue of the Fahalatu Yin and Jiddle Yang. He grabbed the Plasma King's crown and teleported away with both items. When he reappeared, Hashi asked, "What was that about?" To which Floaty Goaty responded, "I had to add a few things to my weapon." Hashi then asked about the slots on the weapon. He was suspicious of it. He did not trust the weapon at all. Floaty Goaty replied, "Well, I haven't planned anything yet, but the top 2 slots are for the Power Stone and artifact." Hashi then asked, "And the bottom 2? Hashi thought that Floaty Goaty was going to steal the beak of Kevin and the foot of Wog. Floaty Goaty responded, "Keep in mind, this is just a prototype. The slots have no correlation to either of your weapons. I know how much they mean to you." Hashi said, "Good." Just then, Floaty Goaty realized that Tyson was gone. "Wait, where's..." "Oh no." "Yeah," Hashi responded. "We lost him in battle, but he died a good man." Then, Floaty Goaty's watch went off. Maybe he may not have died at all. Floaty Goaty stared at his watch, anxious and confused.